Tonight, we are welcoming two people, Stephen and Beth, and I'd like to just do a quick intro because honestly, there's a lot, these folks are involved in a lot of really cool things in the gaming industry. Stephen started way back in 2000 at Polyhedron and did a lot of work on Polyhedron, Living Greyhawk Journal. Those among us who've been playing for years know what those are. And he joined Paizo in 2010, and he was the designer and senior designer on Pathfinder and eventually on Pathfinder 2nd edition as well. And if you've ever used the flip mats, he created a bunch of the flip tiles for that as well, designed those. And recently, he has left Paizo and the Pathfinder product, and now he is freelancing doing the Delve role-playing game. And we'll have some information in the doobly-doo where with URLs and stuff so we can find that. And I think he mentioned this to me, or I saw it somewhere, that he kind of dreams about doing a drunk history episode. If anybody knows what this is, drunk history is amazing. You should look it up and check it out, where he talks about the history of D&D and Gary Gygax. And I know enough of the history to know how insanely hilarious that would be. And then shifting over to Beth Damis is the CFO of Penny Arcade, which means that those of you who love those comics and the convention appearances, she is the person who kind of keeps the lights on and makes sure all that keeps happening. And she obviously works with a really great team over there. And apparently on Tuesdays, they have an event called, what's it called, Beth?
There's a show that we stream called Acquisitions Intoxicated. So we drink beer on Tuesdays. It's Bring Your Liver Day.
Yeah, see, they've been doing this for a while, guys. We really should have been studying that playbook because this whole drinking online is, I guess, nothing new.
There's the missing hashtag, boys. Just saying.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And so we're also here to talk tonight because, and some of the things we're going to talk about as well, Beth's daughter is a huge fan of Pathfinder, and I have daughters who play role-playing games too. So I'm kind of interested to talk about how that family dynamic in gaming kind of works. I know how it works in my house, but I'm always interested to hear other parents who have that same thing. So, big intro out of the way. Welcome, Stephen and Beth.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you.
Golf clap.
That was very good.
Yay!
Welcome to the couch.
So we kind of start out with 3 standard questions, but we realized that these questions are probably a little bit slanted. So I did a little rewrite on them, and I'd just like to ask each one of you, like, can you talk just briefly about what your positive relationship is to gaming? Like, what's the positive aspects interacting with the gaming community? Beth or Stephen, either one.
Well, I was prepared for the other 3 questions.
Well, what got you into gaming? What got you into gaming? What got you into gaming?
Hot boys.
To see, that's your relationship to gaming. Hot boys.
I was in junior high school. I was a big old dork. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I had an older sister that played D&D with hot boys. So I started playing D&D in Top Secret.
Not the same type of gaming groups I had at my school. That's
I'm about to
sure.
say,
Right.
boys were these.
In fact, my DM from high school and junior high met Stephen before Steve and I had our first date.
That is true.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So is that somebody you still hang out with then? Or still know?
He actually lives in Colorado. I tried to get him to go to KobaCon. Hopefully we can get him out there one of these times.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear that's a good one.
it's a great show. It's the best show. So he's constantly sending me funny messages about how I'm wasting my life because I'm living in this magical realm of Wizards of the Coast and D&D, and he would rather be here as Steven's girlfriend than myself.
Well,
We're not doing that.
wow. I have some
Not
follow-up
doing that.
questions, Beth.
I love Coley, but no.
Yeah, I found too. Those early years when I played, it wasn't just the nerds, the classically developed nerd. It was also metalheads. Like lots of rockers also played D&D because they were deceptively smart people who appeared like slackers, right? But they were nerds nonetheless.
We've all seen my high school photos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have
We
it.
need to have that actually on stock. Could you have that in? You need that on the stock photo, Jimmy.
Yeah, I
just
want
like
that.
I'll hook you up.
We'll
It's priceless.
So what about you, Stephen? Like what was that thing, that magnetic pull?
I had just moved to the Bay Area of California. I was about 11 years old, and of course didn't know anybody there. I'd been living on the East Coast, and I ended up going to a birthday party of my father, who was a federal cop. One of his cop buddies, his son was having a birthday. And, I thought I was just going to get cake and ice cream. And they sat me down and shoved a character sheet at me and showed me all these funny dice. And we played Steading of the Hill Giant Chief as part of the Against the Giants.
Right
I
on.
had no idea what I was doing. Loved the hell out of it. And I went home and tore out all of the stuff from I stole every die from every board game I had at home, tore out my Battleship things to make a makeshift GM screen, and started writing my own rules because I didn't have any rule books. And I've just been crazy about the games ever since.
Yeah, that's a great maker story, right? You didn't have the stuff, so you just made it.
Yep.
It's funny how intoxicating role-playing games or fantasy really is. We could delve into the psychology of that some other episode, but
that a pun
a lot
on
of truth
words?
there.
Agreed. And so, what's your best experience in gaming? The favorite thing that, if you could distill it down to one or two episodes, whether it's in game or not, or just people you met talking to, what would you say, Stephen?
I've had so many really good experiences, not only beforehand with the various groups that I ran before I went to college and then in college, but then afterwards going and, within the RPGA, I met a lot of great people through that and still lifelong friends. I think my biggest thrill is after I got laid off from Wizards of the Coast, a group of us decided that we were going to play the D&D Championship. I had been involved early on designing some of the D&D championships, and I was just like, I want to go actually play this thing. And now I can, because I'm just kind of a private citizen. This is the period between leaving Wizards of the Coast and joining Paizo. And our group actually won the championship.
Oh, nice.
And out of 500 players, I don't know how many different groups and everything else. And so I've got basically a trophy now that says, at least for one small moment, I was king of the geeks.
Yeah, right on.
That's why we're dating. That trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Brought that trophy to his first date, didn't he?
And apparently his status as a hot boy.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah. Let's not overlook that. So Beth, you're at a lot of shows, you're at a lot of conventions. What stands out to you? Maybe you're interacting with gamers. What's that standout moment for you?
Everyone that I've met so far is just a really great human. And I feel like, at least from my experience with these people, everybody is open to getting to know me, regardless if they know who I am or not. And there's a certain speak that y'all have, and you have this secret language, right, that you can communicate with each other. So some of my favorite things at the office, there's two favorite things I have. My favorite vision is watching Mike and Jerry sit on their couch in their office and just play video games together and laugh and be friends. And then my favorite listening thing in the office is walking through the office, listening to people creating their characters or their monsters or talking about the next show coming up. And it's just always positive. I know there's a lot of shit on the internet because I've gone down those rabbit holes and read them and been very pissed off at fans. But there's so much good. And it's exciting to be able to see anybody be creative in it.
Yeah.
The internet's just kind of the trash can. I agree with you. Every time you meet somebody face to face, it's
so different.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something special about role-playing gamers. In addition, there's the lack of, in some ways, there's a non-competitive aspect. Even when people are serious, they're not really competing so much. So people don't get quite down into that same level of shit talking that sometimes they do. But boy, put them behind a screen with nothing but a keyboard, and sometimes that facade really disappears. But I agree. I've never had anything but positive interactions with people on face to face, really.